Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today is time for a book unhaul. I did a book haul a few weeks ago, I think, at this point, and I've been thinking about getting rid of some things off of my TBR shelf specifically, because there's some things on here that I know that I've bought, like, secondhand, or, I bought cheap, and then I don't know that I'm actually that interested in reading them anymore. So I was kind of debating doing a spring unhaul. I've frequently done a spring unhaul in the past, and then Riley Marie posted her spring unhaul, and she went like really ruthlessly through every shelf to unhaul stuff, and I think I kind of got inspired with that watching her video. So we are also going to go through my TBR shelves, pull some things off. We're doing it on a vlogging camera because that one's easier to hold up to the shelves than the big boy camera is. So we're just going to go through each shelf, pull some things out that can go. Probably won't be a huge unhaul because I have been pretty ruthless in the past, but I feel like it's time to at least take another look at the shelves and figure out, like, what am I actually going to prioritize reading. So that's what we're going to be doing today, and yeah, hopefully I get rid of some stuff off the shelf and make some room, hopefully not for new books anytime soon, but like make some room in my reading life. I don't know, that's a weird thing to say, isn't it? Not have so many things sitting around that just aren't going to get read. That's the goal. Let's go get started. Okay, starting at the top shelf of my, like, fantasy and sci-fi shelf, I'm not sure that anything is coming off this shelf because a lot of it is stuff I bought recently I'm really excited for. I do have this Golden Flame, which could potentially go, but I want to give it at least a try before I actually get rid of it. So, kind of moving along, the one thing on this shelf that I feel like I could really maybe do without is Space Between Worlds. I bought this a while back because I found it secondhand for cheap, and I'm just not convinced I'm ever gonna read it because it's like a multiverse book. It's got, I think, a murder mystery in it, but it's multiverses, and I'm not sure I'm just that interested into a multiverse. So we're gonna pull this down for now. Make a pile behind me, hopefully. And this has put us actually on level with the second shelf. And I think, again, here, there's not much that I really want to take off without at least giving it a try. Reconsider Dark and Hollow Star. I've heard not great things about this series. I was really excited about the premise, but then I've hardly seen anyone read it, and the few people who have just not liked it that much. So this might be like a try a chapter situation, but we'll set that aside. Third shelf. Move the little bag off the shelf. This one, I think almost nothing will be coming off of because this is all mostly stuff. This one I'm not sure, but this is my best friend homework. She wants me to try reading this because she didn't like it, so I'm gonna try it and get back to her on that. Nothing really on this shelf. One more shelf down. Don't think. Most of these are by authors I really like. There's series that I'm currently reading. I'm not sure about the Trader Barry Cormorant. Lots of people like it. I don't know if it's going to be for me. But again, I still want to give that one a try. So we'll leave it for now. Get down here into the bottom shelf, and these are all books I pretty much have plans for. So those are all staying. And then we can look at the little piles that live next to the shelf. I consider maybe Firebreak, I can't get it out right now, and maybe Hummingbird Salamander on this side. Those, I don't really remember anything about either of them, and I think I bought them for a specific project that didn't happen. So we'll consider getting rid of those. But hang on, let's move over to the other shelf. This is going. That's definitely going. Let's move over to the other shelf, and I think there's going to be more on that one. Okay, next shelf. I am wanting to read all my nonfiction, so I think there's nothing up here that's going to go, except I am kind of considering this. I can't actually read it right now, but the Gothic family romance. I got that when our instructor was retiring. I thought it sounded interesting at the time, but I'm not convinced I'm ever going to make time for it now that I'm graduating. So we'll consider it. Let's move down. This is all new stuff. I believe all of this is probably going to stay. Except, wait. No, it's not, because I'm not convinced I really want to read The Prague Cemetery. I got it for like 50 cents at a Goodwill, and it was in good condition. I don't think I'm that interested. So we'll take that down. And then I also remember that 1004 is up here. And I bought this one for a class I was going to be taking. I didn't end up taking that class. I dropped it to do a teaching internship. And then I spoke to one of my classmates in my other class who was also taking this class. And she said it was really pretentious and insufferable. And she really didn't like it. And so I'm not that interested in reading that one. Let's see, what else? I'm kind of wondering about Station 11. This was another one I bought for the same class. Bought it secondhand for cheap. The thing is, I know a lot of people like Emily St. John Mandel, but I'm just not sure I want to read about a post-pandemic world. We'll consider it. I will take it off the shelf and we'll think about it. And then the ones that are really hard for me is that I have like most of the series by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I read the first book, or not the first book, the third book in the Cemetery of Forgotten Books series, like in high school. And it's one of my favorite books I've ever read. I do not own it. I've never found a copy of it. I really love it though, and so I was like, okay, well obviously I need to read the rest. But I'm just not that bothered about reading the rest. And I know that they can each kind of be read as like a separate thing. I think this is a Gothic. I don't know. I can't decide on those. We'll come back. I'm leaving them for now. Next shelf down. I think all of this is going to be staying. Most of it's either recent or I have ongoing plans for it. Next shelf down. Once again, we have a stack on the front. Another stack on the front. Is there anything here? I'm not sure I'm that bothered about reading this one. This is not... It's like a domestic thriller. And I read one recently and I was like, it was okay. But I'm just not sure I'm that interested. And I think my library has this one, so I could read it that way. And alongside that, I think this, Blind Faith. Oh, that book just fell. This is very much a book I would have liked at high school, and this is when I bought this book at the Friends of the Library in my hometown. It's about a woman who, like, watched the guy who killed her husband get executed, but then now there's, like, some evidence that maybe the wrong man has been executed. It kind of sounds interesting, but again, I'm just not sure I'm that fussed about it, so pull that off as well. Got my John Grishams. I will be reading those. Nothing in this stack is going. Is there anything? Well, that stack is also going straight to the floor, I guess. Yeah, there's nothing else on this shelf. May pick up the stack I just yeeted. This is why I need to do the unhaul. There is simply too much book on this shelf. Okay, final shelf is classics. And I think actually all of these are staying. These are all, like, I've already narrowed this shelf down quite a bit. These are the ones I am currently interested in getting to, or books by, like, some of my favorite classic, like, horror writers, and also Oscar Wilde over there in the corner. So I think that is everything coming off of this shelf for now. Oh, I just thought of one I want to take off. Hang on. Back to the other shelf. We return, because I've just remembered I really don't want to read Our Violins. I have tried to put this on so many TBRs, and I just don't care. I liked the first book okay. I thought it was fun. I'm not finding it that memorable. I don't remember a whole lot about it, and I just don't think I care to read the conclusion. Plus, I haven't heard, like, the greatest things about the sequel, and also not about her later books. So, I think most of the people I saw who liked the first book then didn't really like the sequel all that much, and I just have not been interested in picking it up, which is a bummer because I did pre-order this after having really liked the first book. But okay, I think that is everything I'm going to take off right now. So let me go also grab the first book in that series, and we will take a closer look at what I'm thinking about getting rid of. Okay, I'm back at my desk with the stack. I have decided to just leave the Cemetery of Forgotten Books on my shelf for now. I do think I want to come back to them. I pulled them all down and, like, reread the descriptions, and they all kind of, like, hint back to A Prisoner of Heaven, which I really loved when I read it in high school. I think what I need to do is get myself a copy of Prisoner of Heaven, or The Prisoner of Heaven, and then go back and actually like read the whole series, because I think I'm gonna love it, because I loved that one book. The writing was just like incredible. I really liked the story of that one, and I can see where there's gonna be all these like little ties to the other books in the series. So I am gonna leave that one for now. But now that I'm back at my desk, I think I'm going to do the same thing that Riley Murray does in her Unhauls, because I need to make some decisions. So what she does is she brings down all the books she's taken off her shelves, and then she looks at Goodreads and looks at the rating, looks at the reviews, looks at the description, and like really thinks about whether she wants to keep them or not. And I think I need that like little push one way or another to kind of make a decision on some of these. However, this one I don't. This is Our Violins. I've read this one. Haven't read this one. This has been languishing on my shelf. I think I pre-ordered it, and then I didn't pick it up because in like the days preceding it arriving at my house, when did this come out? 2021. I think I read this in 2020 in time to pre-order this one, and when it arrived at my house in like days preceding, I'd seen a bunch of negative reviews of it saying that it was just not as good as the first book, and that it wasn't as satisfying. And I liked this one okay. I gave it 4 stars. But then this got here, and I was no longer that excited to read it. It's now been like 3 years since I read the first book, and I'm not sure I'm all that bothered about knowing how this ends. It's also a Romeo and Juliet retelling, which is just not my favorite Shakespeare either. I'm really much more interested in like Hamlet retellings or Macbeth retellings. Macbeth isn't even my favorite Shakespeare, but like Romeo and Juliet I particularly don't like. I think we are going to look up the next 2, because I've grabbed these 2 thrillers that I pulled down. Blind Faith is about a woman whose husband has been murdered, and then they execute the killer, and then it turns out maybe they haven't executed the right person. So I'm kind of curious to see what the reviews are like on that, because I like detective stories. I think the woman's a detective, but I'm also like just not that fussed about it anymore, because I bought it back in like high school. When I was younger, my mom and I would volunteer at the local like Friends of the Library store, and during this like one big sale every year in February, they would have like everything would be like 5 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents, and I would just like stock up on a bunch of stuff through the year. And I think both of the books I've got here were acquisitions from that sale, so I probably bought these for like 5 cents a piece, and that's why I got them. I don't think my tastes now align entirely with the things that I was interested in reading when I was in high school. So let's look at this one. Apparently this is the beginning of a series, the Caitlin Tierney FBI thriller series. It has a 3.55, which is not great, but not terrible. Very middle of the road. But it immediately has 2 1-stars and a 2-star at the top of the reviews. So we have 1 star. The best thing I can say about this book is that it was a quick read. Also, I only paid 99 cents for it on Kindle, thankfully. This book was juvenile, poorly written, and poorly edited. I will never read another book by its author. And then 1.5 stars, author tells not shows, no depth, mostly action scenes. It was a struggle to read. I wanted it to be over. Extremely predictable. I had difficulty getting over the fact that the main character, during a crucial plot point, came to the same earth-shattering conclusion about something 3 separate times in a 5-page span. Okay, that can go. I don't care. Now let's look up the next one, Into the Darkest Corner. This one has a higher rating. This is a 4.07 rating for this one. And it's about Catherine, whose ex-husband Lee was abusive, and he has now gone to prison, but says that her life is kind of getting back on track. She's starting to heal. She's starting a new relationship with her neighbor. And then the phone rings. The way that that's phrased, I have to assume that Lee is like released from prison, and that like he's gonna come after her. And I've read like 1 or 2 domestic thrillers, and I tend to just kind of find them okay. I'm not that like excited about this, so I think I'm fine not reading this. And I think the library has this one, so if I wanted to read it in future, there is that option. This one I think is the most like of these, probably the most controversial, because I know so many people love this book. Hello? Well, now I can't get rid of this, because I ordered it on Pango for a class, and I just realized that the seller put a little thank you note. Thank you so much for your purchase. So now I have to read it. It's going back on the shelf. I'm at least gonna like do a try chapter at some point. That's something I've been wanting to do, and I think I'll put this on that list and just see if I get along with it. I kind of like vibe with the writing, vibe with the story. I'm not sure about a pandemic story. I think this one's about traveling actors after a pandemic has wiped out like a significant portion of society. I don't know much beyond that. Sounds like it could be interesting. I'm just not sure if I'm gonna like it. But now that I found that thank you note, I have to try it. So that one's going back on the shelf. Another one I'm really torn on is this A Dark and Hollow Star. I was really excited about this when it came out. I was following the author on Twitter, and when they would talk about it, it just sounded so fun and so interesting. And I don't know. It just sounds like it could be cool. Let me look at the description again and look at what the rating for this one is. Okay. This got a 3.8, so not bad at all. It says, choose your player. The Ironborn half-fae outcast of her royal family. The tempestuous fury exiled to Earth from the immortal realm and hell-bent on revenge. A dutiful fae prince determined to earn his place on the throne. The prince's brooding guardian burdened with a terrible secret. I'm intrigued. For centuries, I think this is YA too. That was another reason I was like, I'm not sure, because I don't always get along with YA fantasy. But it says that for centuries, the 8 courts of folk have lived among us, concealed by magic and bound by law, to do no harm to humans. This arrangement has long kept the peace in the courts until a series of gruesome and ritualistic murders rocks the city of Toronto and threatens to expose fairies to the human world. 4 queer teens, each who hold a key piece of the truth behind these murders, must form a tenuous alliance in their efforts to track down the mysterious killer behind the crimes. If they fail, they risk the destruction of the fairy and human worlds alike, and if that's not bad enough, there's a war brewing between the mortal and immortal realms, and one of these teens is destined to tip the scales. The only question is, which way? Wish them luck, they're going to need it. That actually does sound really interesting to me. I am very curious about this. I love a fantasy murder mystery. I am curious if I'll enjoy this since it's YA. I tend to not always get along with YA fantasy. That said, there are some YA fantasies and some other YA books in general, in other genres, that I have read and absolutely loved. So I think this is another one that I might do, like, on a try a chapter. And, like, I want to at least give it a chance. I think it's the start of, like, a longer series, like 4 or 5 books. So I am curious. I want to know about the murder mystery. So I think this one will also go back on the shelves. Real quickly, I have one I know is going that I forgot to grab it in the first round, but I did say this was going. Priory of the Orange Tree. Another one I know a lot of people love. I've tried to read it twice. Both times I got really bored. I think the characters are really flat and uninteresting, honestly. The most interesting one is Roos, and nothing is happening to him. He just has nothing going on. And then I was buddy reading this, the second attempt. I was buddy reading it with a friend, and I got to 150 pages in, and she got to 250 pages in. And we realized that the stuff that I was reading at 150 pages no longer mattered by 250 pages. And then I skipped ahead to 350 pages and read a little chunk and realized that the stuff that she was reading at 250 pages didn't matter at 350 pages. So basically the vibe was that nothing that happens in part 1 of this book has any bearing on anything else that happens in the book. Like, it just doesn't matter. I do not want to waste my time reading 750 pages of a boring book. So this one is going. Another one that I'm just, no. Simply no. 1004, Ben Lerner. This is about a guy who, like, I think he's an author or a professor or something. Yeah, so the narrator has just been diagnosed with a potentially fatal medical condition and has been asked by his best friend to help her conceive a child. In a New York of increasingly frequent superstorms and social unrest, he must reckon with his own mortality and the prospect of fatherhood in a city that might soon be underwater. So it's kind of a climate fiction thing, but it's also about this, like, the personal issues of this narrator. And one of my classmates who I was working with on a project, so we were talking a lot. We ended up talking about this book because she was in the class that I then didn't take, and she was like, yeah, it wasn't good. It was very pretentious, and, like, I got what it was trying to do. I don't think it was successful, and I just don't want to waste my time on something that's going to be, like, pretentious and unpleasant to read. So, I'm going to get rid of this one as well. The Prague Cemetery by Umberto Eco. Another one I think I'm just going to let go. Like, it's another one that's like a conspiracy thriller thing set in 19th century Europe. I think it's supposed to be kind of a literary thriller, but I bought this for cheap. I don't think I'm that interested in reading it now. I bought this when I was in, like, high school or maybe the early couple of years of college. It was not real long after I moved to where I currently live, which was in the middle of high school. So, yeah, I just don't think I care enough, and I'm pretty sure the library also has this one. So again, if I decided I wanted to try and read Umberto Eco down the road, I have options, and they are free. Okay, and then the very last one I have on the shelf here is, not the shelf, on the stack, is The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. I'm going to look this one up because I know a lot of people have really loved it. I think my problem is that I'm not convinced I'm going to love a multiverse story. So let me just check what the rating is. It's got actually a pretty decent rating. Let's pull the book up so we can get the lighting to work again. Space Between Worlds has got a 3.95, which is pretty good on Goodreads. So an outsider who can travel between worlds discovers a secret that threatens her new home and her fragile place in it, and a stunning sci-fi debut that's both a cross-dimensional adventure and a powerful examination of identity, privilege, and belonging. Multiverse travel is finally possible, but there's just one catch. No one can visit a world where their counterpart is still alive. Enter Kara, whose parallel selves happen to be exceptionally good at dying. Kara's life has been cut short on 372 worlds in total. On this Earth, however, Kara has survived. Identified as an outlier and therefore a perfect candidate for multiverse travel, Kara is plucked from the dirt of the wastelands. Now she has a nice apartment on the lower levels of the wealthy and walled-off Wily City. She works and shamelessly flirts with her enticing yet aloof handler Dell as the two women collect off-world data for the Eldridge Institute. She even occasionally leaves the city to visit her family, though she struggles to feel at home in either place. So long as she can keep her head down and avoid trouble, Kara is on a sure path to citizenship and security. But trouble finds Kara when one of her 8 remaining doppelgangers dies under mysterious circumstances. Plunging her into a new world with an old secret, which she discovers will connect her past and her future in ways she could never have imagined and reveal her own role in a plot that endangers not just her world, but the entire multiverse. I like the back. The quote, "My mother used to say I was born reaching, which is true. She also used to say it would get me killed, which it hasn't. Not yet, anyway." Okay. Got a receipt in this one. Frequently find receipts in my books. Okay, yeah. Reading the first few lines of chapter 1, I'm really intrigued. I like this description. I think some of the, bigger themes could be really interesting. I'm gonna have to try this one, so this one can sit on the shelf. I clearly didn't look at the shelves as thoroughly as I should have, because there are 2 books that I meant to take off that I forgot to, so we're gonna go through this quick right now. I, first of all, pulled off A Cosmology of Monsters by Unhaul. I bought this a while back because the premise seemed interesting. It's about a young boy who sees monsters, and several people in his family do, and they run a horror attraction of some kind, but he actually befriends the monsters. But I've since purchasing this seen some not so great reviews for it, and I did decide to go look up a little bit some spoilers just to see what I was getting myself into, and based on what I found, I'm just not interested in this at all. It seems like it's just gonna be unpleasant to read. Also saw several things saying the writing isn't great, and I did read a few pages, and I think I kind of agree with that. The other thing I pulled off was Lovecraft Country by Matt Ruff, which I bought this, I think, when the TV show was coming out, and I think I would much rather watch the TV show. I know that it was directed by Jordan Peele, and I think I will probably have a better time with this in that format, based on some of the reviews I've seen that talk about how they felt that the kind of commentary in this is a book that is social commentary, is a little bit oversimplified and not super well done. So these are also coming off of my shelf, and I feel pretty good about the decision as well, because these again have been languishing for quite a while. I haven't had any urge to pick them up, I think, since I bought them, so it's better that I just pass these on to some other people who will enjoy them more than I will. Okay, so after that, it's not a huge unhaul, but these are all going to be leaving my library, and I'm pretty pleased with that. I wasn't sure how many I'd actually get rid of because I have been fairly ruthless in my other recent unhauls, so I feel like this is a good stack to be getting rid of. I feel confident in this decision. There's things here that if I wanted to read them later, I could go to the library. There's other things I just don't feel like wasting my time on. I'm pretty happy with this stack. I feel like this was a successful unhaul, even though it's not that many books off of my TBR. It's still something. It still makes a dent, and I'm really trying to make a bigger dent before I might need to move later in the year. So this is some kind of a step towards that goal, and I'm pretty happy with it. So I think I'm gonna go figure out where I'm donating these all to. I'm actually waiting to hear back from my local library to see if they do book sales still, because they used to take donations for that, but I have never figured out how to do that. So I'm hoping I'll hear back from them soon, so I can maybe donate these and get them into the hands of people who will like them, and maybe support my local library at the same time, because that would be great. So I think that's all I have for you today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I hope you consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.